The Substance is out in theaters, new film from Coralie Fargeat, starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley and Dennis Quaid. It won Best Screenplay at Cannes and has been receiving rave reviews. And what's more, the marketing campaign has been pretty damn good because it sold you on the tone without spoiling the actual events of the film. The story follows Elizabeth, played by Demi Moore, an aging actress whose star has faded, quite literally, as we see in the sort of opening sequence, and whose career is now reaching its twilight. She's been relegated to making fitness programs on television, and now even that road is drying up, leaving her depressed about the fact that she lost her youth and her body, and the current state in which she's in, that the current physical attributes that she has are not enough for the executives and the audiences anymore. She then finds out about an experimental drug, the titular substance, which when injected makes your body spawn a younger clone of yourself, with which you have to follow some very specific rules. You have to switch places every 7 days. For a week you live in your old body, for a week the younger one gets to go on, while the other is always in the state of sort of hibernation. Initially, this seems to Elizabeth like a godsend, exactly what she needs to feel desired again and revive her career. But as she begins breaking the safety rules and abusing the substance, things get pretty horrific pretty damn soon. So I absolutely love this film. It's one of the best ones of 2024 for me so far, but I have to warn you straight up, it's a fucked up film, and it is definitely not for normal people. I describe it as Dorian Gray meets David Cronenberg. It's shocking, brutal. There's unseen amounts of body horror here, and things that are terrifying and disgusting at the same time. It's a movie that deliberately walks up to the line of what is acceptable and tasteful and just runs straight across that line, never stopping to look back. What's even more amazing, or awful, depending on your point of view, it's relentlessly oppressive, an assault on the senses because of the cinematography and even more so the sound design. Many of the more shocking sequences especially feature flashing lights, quick cuts, sounds loud to the point of being almost painful. And honestly, that made me, to go on a slight tangent here, it made me think something that I'd never thought about before, sort of another reason why directors tend to prefer releasing their films in the movie theaters instead of on streaming or on DVD, because you simply end up having more control over the experience of the audience. What I'm getting at is if I had seen this film at home, I would have just turned the volume down because it was too painful for me even. But seeing it in theaters, I was forced to experience it exactly the way the director intended to. And even though it was unpleasant at the time, I sort of, looking back at it, I sort of appreciate that I was able to have that unpleasant experience. What more? There's blood, there's graphic violence, there are scenes of absolute disgust, and it goes on for 2 hours 20 minutes, and the entire last act is just one ending after another, and with each one you think, this is it, this is where the story finishes. But then it goes to an even more insane, fucked up sequence. Put it this way, I went to see this with my girlfriend and her sister, and they were both totally traumatized. But, and this is a very important but, I left with a wide smile on my face. I was really entertained by the crazy, unhinged ride that it became. I loved how it's unlike any other movie I've seen. I loved how it made me feel, bringing to mind the feeling of, again, being attacked by a movie in a way I haven't really experienced since Climax in, I think, 2018. I loved that it's very confidently directed, with visual homages to things like The Shining, the bloody walls, the bathroom at the studio, and the ridiculous long corridors, and also 2001 Space Odyssey, believe it or not, with the hypnotic sequences of cloning. I loved the production design, with the liminal space sets, striking colorful costumes, and perhaps most importantly makeup and prosthetics. which are simply unbelievable. Some of the best practical effects work I've seen when it comes to like just transforming a person. And I love the performances. Demi Moore especially is absolutely phenomenal in this. She does a lot of physical acting, but to me, the scene where she's getting ready to go on a date and keeps reevaluating herself and comparing herself to the billboard of Margaret Qualley, that was some top-notch acting. And also, I liked how the movie, because I realized I haven't spoken about it, I loved how the movie is a commentary on chasing the unattainable standards of beauty and youth, a cautionary tale about how chasing that can fuck up your life completely, which applies not only to the sort of surface level entertainment industry angle, but also to life in general, I think, especially in the era of things like social media and heavily edited or even AI enhanced photos of famous people, which make you look at that and think, oh, I have to look at that, like I have to look like that as well. And then in the most general sense, it is a movie also about addiction, about doing stuff that is harmful to you because it makes you feel good for a short time. And at times it invokes things like Requiem for a Dream, showing you the slide into that addiction in such a fucked up way that you never again want to see, let alone experience it. So yeah, I loved it. I think it's a great movie, but just know what you're signing up for. If you don't have the stomach for insane, disgusting body horror, if you don't like breaking taboos, especially visual taboos and shock value, stay away from this one because you will be traumatized. But if you're okay with those sort of things, you will have a great time.